we're going to Song of Solomon. I didn't want people to not appear, but we are going to Song of Solomon and trying to go through this at a fairly good clip, and it will be preached in a way that's pure, that's honorable, and it's true to its natural context, not going off on things or beyond where we should go. But turn to Song of Solomon, please. A second. Okay. You're in the Song of Solomon. This is our second part of Don't Arouse Love Before It Pleases. And so as we consider this proposition, have you ever jumped the gun on something and stepped into a mess that you created because you were just too premature, you were too ambitious, you were too impatient, etc.? Well, one of the things that the Bible warns us about is you can jump the gun on romance. And kids, by way of illustration, get pressured to start dating in kindergarten and first grade. Do kindergartners need to be dating? Now, when I was 5, I thought I should get married off, but because I loved seeing my mom and dad were a beautiful marriage, and I'm like, wow, this is a great deal. But should we be encouraging it in the kindergarten? And the answer, I believe, from this book is there is a refrain to this song, to this poetry. Do not awaken love before it pleases. That is the repeated refrain of this book 3 times. It is the main theme of the book, the main challenge of the book. There is an appropriate place for arousal, and there is an inappropriate time and place for this. And you will see that the key verses of the book are Song of Solomon chapter 2 verse 7, chapter 3 verse 5, and chapter 8 verse 4, repeating the same refrain in this song. This song, which is a superlative song, literally, it is the song of songs. This is like King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This is above all other songs. That's how this book enters into it in chapter 1, verse 1. And we call it the Song of Solomon in our English text, but the Hebrew, sometimes you will see it as the Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 1, as the first words of the book are often the titles in Hebrew. Well, today I want to share our context, and as we are going through this book at rap speed, we covered 3 chapters last week, and I plan to cover the rest of the book today. The Song of Solomon is wisdom poetry, primarily addressed to the daughters of Jerusalem. You will see that I made a list of verses. We went over them last week. That's on YouTube if you would like to listen to that. But the challenge there is, O daughters of Jerusalem, O daughters of, listen up, O daughters of Jerusalem. This is just like Proverbs, where in Proverbs the father says throughout the entire book, as I have a long list there, my son, listen to your father. My son, listen to the words of your mother. My son. Proverbs is heavenly. It is general wisdom for all, because all scripture is profitable. And we look at this is a book of Song of Solomon. It is profitable for husband, for wife. It is especially written to single gals. But it is profitable for all. Your strongest audience is, O daughters of Jerusalem. I could say, O daughters of Sulan, listen up. That is the call of this book, and it's a sweet call. The sweet call is, don't go into something the wrong way. It's a sweet call of don't arouse love until it's the appropriate time. Do you like heartbreaks? Do you like crushing your emotions and your will and your attention in the wrong place, the wrong time, in the wrong way? And here, this book has an incredible challenge for us in that regard. How must we be unselfish with love and romance? And my challenge is this, from our text, from the book. I believe you could take this as a proposition from the entirety of the book. God calls singles and married people too not to awaken love except for when and where it is appropriate. There must be an awakening of love throughout marriage, but not before marriage. There is a right place for love, and there is a wrong place for the type of love that we see in this book. You know, what I'm about to share, I'm not saying you need to do this, but this is what Tara and I did. When we were dating, we decided we were not going to have physical contact with one another. We had seen enough failures in our family where they got in trouble. So we decided we're going to have our first kiss on our wedding day. And so when on June 23rd, 2007, Pastor Brandt had us up before the congregation. He said, "You may now finally kiss your bride." And I have no regrets from that, because it's too easy for physical contact to lead to more and more physical contact and to go into danger zones. When is the kiss in the marriage ceremony? It's after they have covenanted together. And you've heard it a thousand times or more. You may now kiss the bride. It's after they have covenanted together to be married. Till death do you part. The kiss is particularly a picture that's publicly approved, showing that they are one flesh, that there's a physical nature to their marriage, which will be later consummated. I want you to turn in your Bibles to chapter 3, verses 6 through 11. And I will not be reading all of this book. We will be just highlighting certain verses, and I will reference verses, but I will not read all of these verses publicly. But if you would look in chapter 3, verse 6, the Shulamite, who is this coming out of the wilderness, like pillars of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and frankincense, with all the merchants' fragrant powders. Behold, it is Solomon's couch, with 60 valiant men around it, of the valiant of Israel. They all hold swords, being expert in war. Every man has his sword on his thigh because of fear. In the night of the wood of Lebanon, Solomon the king made himself a palanquin, and he made its pillars of silver, and its supports of gold, and its seat of purple, and its interior paved with love. By the daughters of Jerusalem, go forth, O daughters of Zion, and see King Solomon with his crown, and with his mother crowned him, with which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding, the day of the gladness of his heart. Here we come into this, and there is an awakening. The wedding here is being celebrated, and chapter 3, verse 6 through 11 is the wedding. And here it is time to awaken love. And I have it down as 3 if you have last week's reference, but this should be point number 1. Awaken love with unselfish preparation for both your wedding and your honeymoon. Here, he comes in this, and she comes into this. She's probably singing in the background. If we could take our culture into her culture, she's probably singing, "I'm going to the chapel, going to get married." She's humming that along as the day goes about. Verse 11, this is a day of gladness we just read. This is a day of celebration. And I think it's a good reminder, weddings should be something special. That doesn't mean that they're over-the-top expensive. You don't have to do expensive to be a day of gladness, but this is to be a day of rejoicing. This is special. Well, we look down and we see this. Keep the celebration joyous. And I would advise, don't complicate it. Can I also say, young people, when you get married, maybe don't hop on a plane and go across the world. Jet lag's a real thing, and you put jet lag and sleep deprivation from preparing from a wedding. You're like, that's like a suicide mission. Don't do that. Relax a little bit, okay? Before you spring into this honeymoon. It's been a lot of work getting to that point. Make your wedding special. And I also encourage, don't go into debt. I mean, this is extra here. But but also make it special. This is a day of gladness, verse 11 says. Just by way of illustration, my wife was very frugal, very careful, but there was one thing that she wanted to pay for that was expensive. It was cake, because wedding cake is going to be special. And so I'm like, okay. And so bless the bride. Do the things that bless your spouse or your spouse to be as you prepare for marriage, or encourage young people. And chapter 4, verse 1, here comes the bride and the groom together. Chapter 4, verse 1, there, behold, you are fair, my love. Behold, you are fair. You have dove's eyes behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats going down from Mount Gilead. Now, that sounds kind of funny to us, but in words that were commonly known, they didn't have, I'm horrible at this, so I can't tell you a hair product right now if I tried. Maybe Conair, I don't know. Hair product, okay, you think of it, Pantene Pro V or something, and they're advertising this wavy, smooth hair, something like that, and he's thinking, man, you're just gorgeous. And so he's nailing this out. Chapter 4, verse 1, just probably about as smooth as I just did, but chapter 4, verse 1, you could just imagine he's coming into this picture. The glasses have all been dinged if it was a 21st century wedding, and they're going to their bridal chamber for their honeymoon. The groom is not Tarzan here. He's gentle, and he adores her. You are fair, my love. That's a good biblical principle, men. Gentleness, honor, love, appreciation. Verse 1, some kind of sheer veil covers her face, but he can see her eyes. And he's like, oh, probably she has Israelite eyes, and they're dark, like a dove's, just glassy, gorgeous eyes, and they're deep and they're rich. And he's like, oh, you're just so beautiful. Marriage is a place for imagination to tantalize, and this is a place where things are special, and she is beautiful to him. Verse 2, your teeth are like a flock of shorn sheep. Okay, you got to think, how would you describe white in the ancient world? So, okay, we don't have whitening toothpaste here advertisements, so we got to go back in the ancient world. Your teeth are like a flock of shorn sheep. Man, it's fresh wool, not dirty wool. It's not a dirty sheep that's been laying out in the mud. This is a shorn sheep. It's clean, white, beautiful, which come up from the washing. Oh man, beautiful white teeth. Every one of them bears twins. You've got all your teeth. You've got a full smile, hon. And you're just gorgeous. Now, that sounds funny to us, but how many dentists did they have back then? I don't know. I'm not good in that area of knowledge. But in verse 3 and following, you are all beautiful, he says. The anticipation and appropriateness of arousing love is for the newlywed. This is the time for it. This is when love needs to be kindled and the flame aroused. Verse 7, you are all fair, my love, and there is no spot in you. Verse 9, you have ravished my heart, my sister, my spouse. You have ravished my heart with one look of your eyes. Now, some people get weirded out by the word sister there. He's not saying she's his sister. This is poetry. You are like so close to me, like a sister has been. You are my wife. And they have come together. This is the honeymoon. Well, we move on, verse 10. How fair is your love, my sister, my spouse. How much better than wine is your love, and the scent of your perfumes than all spices. Your lips, O my spouse, drip with honeycomb. Honey and milk are under your tongue, and the fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. Well, you didn't realize you would hear this in church, but this is Hebrew kissing. It predated the French by about 2,000 years. But moving on, verse 13 and 14, the newlywed couple, they have a special room. Beautiful smells and fragrances, spikenard perfume, cinnamon. It wafts through the air. They have made this a special place. And there's good principles there. Make this a special place. Verse 15, their room has room for no one else. This is their room. But then trouble comes in the marriage. You're like, this is the honeymoon. This is rolling good. Have you ever heard the phrase that the honeymoon's over? Ugh. That's chapter 5, verse 2. Honeymoon is over. He is in the figurative doghouse or something. Look over in chapter 5 and verse 2. I sleep, but my heart is awake, the Shulamite says. It is the voice of my beloved. He knocks, saying, open for me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one. For my head is covered with dew, my locks with the drops of the night. Okay, so they haven't been together for a while. He's been left out in the cold so long that the dew has saturated his hair. He's wet. They've been apart, at least from relations that they should be having in marriage. He's out in the cold, not spending time with her, loving one another. The problem is the wife has grown cold and indifferent and distant here. You're like, how do you know that? Well, read on, verse 3. Not everything's good in paradise here. Verse 3, I have taken off my robe. How can I put it on again? I have washed my feet. How can I defile them? My beloved put on his hand to the latch of the door. So he's on the outside. And my heart yearned for him. I rose. So it took a while. I mean, she's kind of been hands off. I'm not coming to the door. No, I just can't. This is kind of like a Hebrew headache. She's coming up with an excuse. I just don't really want to. And the excuse really isn't worth much here in verse 3. But then all of a sudden he starts speaking in verse 4. And her heart starts to yearn for him. Verse 5, I arose to open for my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh. He has put myrrh on the door handle like it's a calling card. And he put on the cologne. He's wanting to love his wife. I arose, I opened for my beloved. My hands dripped with myrrh, my fingers with liquid myrrh on the handles of the lock. The sad news, verse 6, is he's already gone. He left. There's several principles here. One, men, you don't force things. You're to be a gentleman. There is sacrificial love. Even if the wife is distant, cold, whatever happens to be, sacrificial love she says no, then there's a no here. And here we see he turns away. But there's a next problem that goes on. If you want a healthy relationship, refuse to weaponize, so this would be point number 2 in your revised notes. Refuse to weaponize intimacy in your relationship. Refuse to weaponize this. The husband is eager to be with his wife, and it has been a while outside in the dew. Maybe he's in the proverbial doghouse. Verse 3, she's in bed and doesn't want to let him in. It sounds like a fairly lame excuse, but he gently calls on her. He is not forceful. He lovingly left a calling card and signals. Verse 4 and 5, compatibility is not the issue. I would like to dismiss something. I get annoyed. Oftentimes, I will be asked, I'm doing marriage counseling, are they compatible? No, nobody's compatible. They're all dirty, rotten sinners. What are you talking about? That compatibility thing, some of that is a little over the top. Do you know what I mean? Yes. Some people, you're like, they just don't go together. I understand that. But so much of the time, people will be serious, it's obvious, and people are like, and they're like over-analyzing and getting weird on things because they don't like something about him or her or family background or whatever it happens to be. Be careful of that stuff. Sin causes problems. Well, he's come to the door in an attempt to be with her, but verse 6, he's not forceful. He leaves. She finally opens the door and he's gone. The icy, selfish reception here can only produce regret. Her heart melted while she heard her beloved speak to her. I want to hold your spot here, and let's come back in just a moment. But would you turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 7? In every premarital counseling at some point, I must get to this because it's essential and it's important in our marriages to remember this. In our age of selfishness and independence, we do not have a good view of this. I'll just leave it at that. Verse 2. Nevertheless, chapter 7, verse 2 of 1 Corinthians. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. And the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do you see that? God's saying, you're not your own. Just like as a Christian, you're not your own. You've been bought with a price. In marriage, your body has been given to your spouse. The husband to the wife and the wife to the husband. You were created for the pleasure and enjoyment of the other. But we live in such a selfish age and so much of an emphasis on self-pleasure and autonomy that we have said, you can go fly a kite. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't want to love. I don't want to give. Selfishness will never produce enduring, healthy love. We must be giving. Are you trying to get or trying to give? Men, I always challenge men. Make sure that you're givers and not getters. That is such a danger that we have to be on guard about. Verse 5, do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Here, God says, physical relations in a marital relation should be regular. They should be regular. It is scary sometimes when I talk with people. This is not public things, but as I'm ministering to different ones, and this is like the dummy light, the red light going off on the dashboard of your truck. They haven't spent time together in a year. That is saying something is wrong at home. He is not taking care of problems. She doesn't believe he understands him. And there's this whole mess going on. And he's like, I'm avoiding trouble at all costs. There's no way, no how I'm going to do that, because it's just an area of manipulation where I will get attacked. And this fight will get drawn out of it. That is a sick place to be. Here, verse 5, don't deprive one another. You leave each other open to Satan's attack. Do you remember Dame Folly in Proverbs chapter 5 and Proverbs 26, or not 6, chapter 7, verse 1 through probably about 11 or 15? In Proverbs 7, Dame Folly is out on the corners of the street winking and shuffling her feet, and so she walks in such a way, she's using everything she's got to be a calling card to the naive. And it says that she'll reduce a man to a crust of bread, because she knows there's enough dumb guys, and her doorway is the gateway to the grave. That's Dame Folly, the adulterous woman in Proverbs chapter 7. Do you want to protect your marriage? Then you don't want there to be a lack of self-control and an opening for Satan to take a foothold. What are we told in Ephesians 5? Do not let the sun go down on your wrath. Why? Neither give a foothold to Satan, right? Isn't that what it says? This is another area where if we're disobedient, we give a foothold to the evil one to scale our life, and we're saying, attaboy, Satan, just scale my life, scale my marriage, disrupt it. Do as you please. Guys and gals, we've got to address problems. There's got to be a time and a place. We need to be loving one another, giving of one another. This is essential here. Turn over, so back in Proverbs, we see, back in Corinthians, you can go to Proverbs, but I'll comment on Corinthians, except for a time of fasting and prayer, which means this should be an irregularity for there not to be time spent together. The Old Testament taught about after a child was born in different cycles that there would not be intimate relations. But we go back to Song of Solomon. I'm not used to being in this book. The Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 6 and 7. I'm not going to read these verses, but they're poetic imagery. Look in verse 7, though. Verse 7, the watchmen who went about the city found me. They struck me. They wounded me. And the keepers of the walls took my veil away from me. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, that you tell him I am lovesick. Now, mind you, verse 6, she has just seen that her husband is gone. She gave an icy reception. He left. So she goes out into the dangerous place, the streets. No one should be going out to the streets in the night. Do you remember Proverbs 7, the danger of being outside in the night? And I don't know that this is remember, this is poetry, so it's poetic imagery. And as the Shulamite tells the story, she says, the watchmen, I ran into them and I said, watchmen of the city. This is kind of like the police officers of the city, the sentries that are watching the walls. These are flat figures, Dr. Tim Little says. They characterize righteousness. What would be the right thing to do? And as she goes to the watchman on the wall, in this poetic imagery, they beat her. Now, they don't really beat her. This is poetry. It's a rebuke. What are you doing? What are you doing rejecting the very love of your home and your life? Your marital love and harmony is disrupted and your husband is turned out. And she knows, verse 6, I've got to go find him. She knows there's got to be a jealous love for her husband. But the watchmen are like, hey, this was not the right thing to do how you have done things. They're like guardians who reprimand her for her selfishness and driving her husband away. Verse 8, let's read verse 8. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, that you tell him I am lovesick. Now, this is good. You know, she is talking in a good way about her husband. At this point, she's had a turnaround. You know what the worst thing that can happen in our marriages is, and young people, to have in your marriage is to join the husband bashing club or the wife bashing cooler room. It's not appropriate ever to be a part of spousal bashing. You speak well of your spouse. You may go to someone who can actually help you, but you do not have this verbal blah of disrespecting your spouse. And here, verse 8, she sends out an olive branch to the daughters of Jerusalem. Hey, send my beloved back to me if you see him, if you run into him. Now, while our world argues for my body, my choice, God teaches mutual affection, self-denial for both the husband and wife, and that your body is a gift to each other. In Proverbs 5:18, we won't go there, through 23, men, you're always responsible for your choices. You can't blame your wife. Well, she didn't. Well, you're a sinner and you need to be self-controlled. You need to be prayerful. You need to be godly through these things. Wife, neither can you want to drive him into the arms of the adulteress. We want to be ones that are wise here. Unconditional love is essential to marriage. Too many books teach manipulation. Can I say this? Too many Christian books are garbage out there. You've got different ones that say, if you do this for your husband, he'll do this for you. What's wrong with that thinking? I give to get. What is that? Selfishness. Too much psychologized Christian counseling. Debbie Pearl and some of those books. You do this and you'll get. You want to get your husband to do this? It's nothing more than a manipulation ploy. Page after page after page. Do this to get. Now, there's some valuable lessons you probably can learn there. But that pragmatism is the wrong, it's not love. It's not genuine, selfless love. How did Jesus love us when we got our act together? No. Did he love us to get us to behave? No. He saved us. Unmerited kindness, unconditional love. There's good things you can learn from the book, Love and Respect. Wives, should you respect your husband? That is a command in the New Testament. Husbands, are you commanded to love your wives? Yes. But should you respect to get love? Wrong. Should you love to get respect? Guys, wrong. Giving to get is sinful selfishness, and it will bite you in the end. So, that is my unhumble, unapologetic challenge to you as I have to compete against the airwaves and books in our age. Chapter 5, verse 8, she talks well, she honors her husband. Men, remember this. You've heard the old adage that your wife is like a crock pot. Her brain is the key to her love, and it takes loving her. She's thinking well of her husband. She's talking to the daughters of Jerusalem. Ladies, complaining kills your desire for your husband. Young girls, if you want to kill your love for your future husband, just live a life of complaining. Complaining will discourage you. It'll give your heart to discouragement. And think of this. What is contentment? Contentment is being satisfied with God's sufficiency. Can you be satisfied with your spouse? Are you going to live joyfully? Or everything's wrong? We have got to be rejoicing Christians. The Shulamite rekindles her flame for her husband by thinking and talking about his virtues. Look, and back in the beginning of the book, chapter 1, verse 3, she loved her husband's reputation. Now she's going to talk about his muscles. Verse 9 and 10, look at this. Verse 9, my beloved is white and ruddy, chief among 10,000. His head is like the finest gold. His locks are wavy, black as a raven. She starts thinking about her husband, and she's thinking the right thoughts. She's thinking about... You go all the way to verse 16, you'll see she digs his muscles, his cologne, everything about this guy. Oh, man, does she love him. Gals, you won't get there unless you think well of your spouse. Husband bashing will kill it, but adoring and loving what's true about him will get your mind. The whole book of Philippians is a challenge that you would consider these things, think on these things. You've got to change your thinking to being a rejoicing saint. Philippians chapter 4, verse 4 and verse 6, verse 8, 9, 10, all through there. The lesson is Christ served us when we were an adversary, sinning against him. We all love even when we don't feel like it. We need to be loving. Turn over to chapter 6, verse 2. The Shulamite. My beloved has gone to his garden, to the beds of spices, to feed his flock in the gardens, to gather lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He feeds his flock among the lilies. They're united in love. They're enjoying one another. And again, just like 1 Corinthians 7, love is not to be sporadic. It should be regular. And it should be healthy. Well, I also want to give the warning. Do you remember Delilah? Now, Samson, I'll just say this in an unsanctified way, he was a moron. I mean, he loved the wrong things. He loved good-looking girls, and when I say loved, lusted might be a better word for it. He went after good-looking girls, and what did it do? He married an unsaved girl, a Philistine, and what happens? He goes after, and she uses her seductive powers. Do you remember? Oh, you don't love me, Samson. If you really loved me, you would tell me the secrets to your power. Well, she pulls this day after day after day, and then eventually it got to him. And intimacy has its place of fulfillment in marriage, but seductive powers are powerful. The Shulamite wife rejects her husband back in chapter 5, husband singular, 5 through 6. We already saw that. Chapter 6, verse 5, we see her rejection. Turn your eyes away from me, for they have overcome me. Your hair is like a flock of goats going down from Gilead. Turn away from me. I'm like, oh man, another cold shoulder. This happy, rough. This is marriage. 25 to 30% of the book is conflict, because this is real life. That's what the book of Solomon is showing. Song of Solomon is showing. You look over in verse 11. And she goes to this place that should be special. And by verse 13, return, O Shulamite, return the way we looked upon you. It's like, come on, come back. And then we go to verse 9 through 13, if we were to look through that. He uses military language. And he's like, my dove, my perfect one, the only one of her mother, the favorite one who bore her. The daughters saw her and called her blessed. The queens and the concubines, they praised her. Who is she who looks forth as the morning, fair as the noon, clear as the sun, awesome as an army with banners? Now, unfortunately, the New King James and all of our newer translations have the word awesome there, which you can translate the Hebrew word there. But if you have the Old King James, it's got a little better rendering. Terrifying as banners. What are banners? Military people. You've got the guy who's going to war with all of his flags flying, the ensigns of the troops. And he looks at his wife and he's like, man, you're beautiful, but boy, honey, you're like a troop with the war flags up. And in verse 13, you're like, are you serious, Pastor? Look, verse 13, return. I mean, he begs 4 times, return, return, return. Please come back to me. You're like a warlord, love. We're at war. You're like, and he says in the chapter, you're like a walled city. Talk about icy reception. There's some icy reception there. One of the primary ways to protect your marriage, husband and wife, is to cultivate sexual desire for each other. We need to guard that garden. That needs to be a special place, a place of safety and health and love that is unselfish. Generally, spouses should not deny each other's advances. I did use the word generally. There are times, as we see in the Old Testament. The next point, number 5, should be your point number 3. By awaken love, arouse love, by nurturing your love to be sweetly assertive. Pastor, did you just say sweetly assertive? Yes. Wives, this is an area, love is to be mutual, husband to wife. Both, if you would, could make advances here. We look in verse 11, 7:11. Come, my beloved, let us go forth to the field. Let us lodge in the villages. Let's go early in the vineyards. Let us see if the vine is budded, whether the grape blossoms are open and the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. And verse 13, mandrakes are some kind of love fragrance thing that was used in the Old Testament. It might be love potion number 9, prehistoric, I'm not sure. But he's sharing this, and it's very much they're expressing love to one another. Well, verse 3, you see more of the picture going on, and we won't spend much time there. Why nurture your love to be sweetly assertive? They love each other. Don't you love it when you see a couple and they dote on each other? They're sweet on one another. This is what it's supposed to be. They're doting on one another. They love one another. They like to be with one another. And number 6, or point number 4 in your notes, awaken love, arouse love. You know the first 3 chapters I heavily preach. Do not awaken love before it pleases, before marriage. In marriage, you've got to fan the flame by celebrating and cultivating an unquenchable love according to God's design for intimacy. Verse 5, who is this coming up from the wilderness, leaning upon her beloved? I awakened you under the apple tree where your mother brought you forth. There, she who brought you forth, the Shulamite to her beloved. Verse 6, set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm, for love is as strong as death. Jealousy is as cruel as the grave, as flames are flames of fire, most vehement flame. They talk here, and you can tell there's great expression for each other here. Today, we need to be cultivating an unquenchable love for your spouse. Singles, don't awaken love before it pleases. But no, someday, if the Lord does not have you to be single and you have the gift of singleness, you know, Lord, there's a special time and a special place. And the best thing you could do is don't let your mind go where it's not appropriate for right now. Do you want peace in your life? Don't think about what you don't have. Comparison kills contentment, especially in this area. For the man or for the woman, comparison of what you don't have. And also say, we can't allow there to be other images, selfish indulgences of self-pleasure to dissuade us of the standard of beauty only being your spouse. We have to have a jealous love for one and only one. And let me tell you, it is the most satisfying place in the world. And that's what this book shows. Yeah, there's a lot of skirmishes through the book, about 25 to 30% of it. But that's life. But don't you love it when you talk with an elderly person who's grown in love their whole life, and you just like, man, they love each other. And it's just like, Lord, I want Tara and I to look more like that as we get older. What do I do today to grow that kind of love? And you listen to some of those older folks and those that just dote on one another, love one another. They text one another. And they give a phone call. They check on it. They do special things. They fan the flame. They arouse and awaken love where it's supposed to be. Today, by way of applications, I have several here. Christian, are you growing in contentment? Are you learning to control sexual desires so you are not arousing love when it's not appropriate? Enter marriage to bless one another, serve one another. Ladies, allure your husband with your beauty. I mentioned last week, the time to be decked out and beautiful is in marriage, not before trying to get guys to snap their necks to look at you. That's the wrong place. It's your husband that you're grabbing. If you would, marriage is the place to awaken desire. Men, be courteous. Clean up. Use good hygiene. One guy down in Texas, he told his pastor, well, how do you send signals to your wife? And he's like, I brush my teeth. And he's like, you send signals when you don't brush your teeth, buddy. With this, men, be courteous, clean up, use good hygiene. We don't need to act like animals. Decent shape. If there are any other ways you can be a blessing, do that. I'd also encourage you, pray. Pray together. That needs to be a part of even this subject, that we ask God's blessing in, and that we grow in love. If God is the one who blesses, why not ask the blesser and inventor of this book and of these ways? Men, gentleness and sacrificial love are always important regardless of whether your wife is loving, distracted, or distant. She might be saying, there's little foxes in the vineyard. She's distracted. Her mind is elsewhere. It's kind of like, have you ever had your computer open? Angela Little uses this illustration. You've got 25 pages open on the web browser. It's time to close a few pages, ladies. Guys, it's time to close a few pages, and maybe you need to get away for a weekend or a little bit. Sometimes there's so many jobs at home, so many broken things. You know what? Maybe you guys just need to get away. Spend $150 and get away. We need to invest in our marriages. We need to love and be careful of all those distractions and all those open tabs on life that are vying for our affection. And I don't say that to escape your problems, but focus on who you're supposed to focus on. It's so easy. Isn't it sad, guys and gals, married couples, how that sometimes we become so accustomed to our spouse that the things that we expected them, we would never expect of anyone else. I am so guilty of that. I'll just lay on a bunch of work for Tara to do and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, I would never do this to someone else. I'm being a heel right now. I need to be more thoughtful and courteous. Lord willing, you're more sanctified than I am. But it's so easy to look at our spouses just so one with us that they can just do a bunch of things for us. We've got to guard each other. And we have to remember, they're not just a mere extension of us or more work that can be done, but the focus of my love, the investment of life. Men, your job is to present her spotless as a bride, without spot or wrinkle. And we have to keep that in mind from Ephesians 5. A sacrificial love to do so. And biblical love is always unconditional. Physical intimacy and contact in marriage should never be a matter of manipulation or bartering, where you give to get something. Wives and wives-to-be, the best way to cultivate the garden of your love in your marriage is to cultivate your sexual desire for your husband. Beware of distractions. Husbands, your wife is never to be treated like a doormat. So those are things to keep in mind. Let's pray. We have completed 65 books of the Bible. Not that we just want to do this as a hash mark, but we'll be in the Gospel of Matthew. And I know that you guys were eager to get back into Matthew as we went through through the Sermon on the Mount. But we'll go through the rest of the Gospel of Matthew for the next year. So look forward to that time with you. But let's pray. Father, thank you for this book. Lord, we all kind of blush a little bit going through this book because of the nature of it. Because these things are mostly behind doors, special doors, bedrooms that are decked with cinnamon and myrrh and sweet fragrances. And yet, Lord, you want us to succeed in every area of our life. Truly, your word has said that you have given to us everything that pertains to life and godliness, including how we love, how we handle when not loved, how we pursue, how we protect, how we not manipulate, but how we're unselfish in all these things. Lord, would you please bless our marriages and every single here that you would lead to be married down the road. Lord, it's so easy to pray for a spouse, but Lord, would you make every young lady here to be the young woman of God that you would have her to be, and every young man to be the man of God that he is supposed to be. Lord, help us to focus on our responsibility and not our illustrious dreams. Lord, help us to be preparers, to be givers, to be loving, unselfish now, and content now, that we may walk in glorious, godly contentment the rest of our days. We love you, Lord. In Jesus we pray. Amen. God bless.